Can't hear you.
How about now?
I can hear you now.
I say muted my mic. No.
I'm
uh,
muted.
Now it's unmuted. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome into 52/1995, your live music conversation podcast, where we are diving into the music of the year 1995. Of course, this is an expansion of our sister podcast or parent podcast, whatever we're trying to call it, of the 52-universe, 52/1995 movies. I'm your host, Alyssa, and I am joined by my co-host, Cody. Cody, how you doing?
Doing great. I'm doing wonderful.
Doing wonderful. I love that. If you are tuning in to us for the first time, we are so glad you are here. Thank you so much for your time. Each week, 52 of them to be precise, we are going to explore a different album from the year 1995. And we will be diving into this year's important releases, really discuss them in detail. We're going to chat a little bit about our thoughts and experiences with the music. Each month, we're also going to be exploring a new theme or new genre. This month's theme is ladies, and today's album is Tigerlily by Natalie Merchant. So Cody, welcome in. Thank you for joining. What's your experience with Natalie Merchant as like a general statement or Tigerlily?
Honestly, never heard the album before. I've definitely heard some Natalie Merchant songs before. As you know, I have that background with my sister being a teenager when all this stuff and a senior or junior in high school around this time. So or going into her senior year. So she was really into all the music that we're probably going to be talking about. I say that every time. But honestly, with Natalie Merchant, she did not have this album, unlike the last two that we talked about. But I definitely heard her songs before, and she has such a distinct voice that uh, she's one of those people that I was like, yeah, I've heard the song before, but if you would have asked me who sings this song, I wouldn't have been able to be like, oh, yeah, that's Natalie Merchant. But from now on, I think I will, after having listened to her extensively for the last week. So,
Yeah, definitely. She does have a distinct voice that I feel is really soothing. I've not heard her before ever, so this was a totally new experience for me. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really did enjoy this week's listening. Like you said, I think she's going to be a little more recognizable to me moving forward.
yeah, she definitely sticks with it. And I think you'll hear more songs from her as I went down like a Spotify rabbit hole. It was like, oh yeah, this song, and oh, she was in this band. I didn't know that was this band, or that she was the lead singer of that band. So um it's going to be, now I will recognize Natalie Merchant. Forgiveness, hopefully she forgives me for not knowing
Yeah,
who
give her a call, beg for
I knew
mercy.
she was important though. As well as all the ladies that we've talked about so far, and any that we will talk about in the future. I know she's important to the era, to the genre, and you can't get any more 90s than Natalie Merchant.
Very 90s, very 90s. I will say that I knew who Alanis Morissette was. I knew who Jewel was or is, both of them. I've at least like heard snippets of things before. I've actually never heard any Natalie Merchant like at all. And even going through some more of her discography, I'm like, nope, don't know anything. So I am fully brand new to this situation here.
And
Um,
she doesn't have songs that you're like, "Oh yeah, this song." Like I
yeah.
couldn't tell you now having listened to them and knowing like what I know about Natalie Merchant in this particular album, it's like, "Oh, okay, I'll know the names of those songs." You even asked me earlier like about some song, and I was just like, "Here's the song title, here's the song title, here's the song title." Um just off the top of my head. So I'll know them. Yeah, again, moving forward, I'll know them, and I'll know
Yeah.
this album, which I think has a really cool album cover. By the way,
You're a fan.
I'm a fan. It's very simple. It's just like
Mhm.
I like the color, like I like the font. I like the colors there. It's just a picture of her, just like
Mhm.
with her hand. I think it's really cool. I don't know. I think it's cooler than the last two album covers we had. So
I agree. I think this is also a great debut for her. Like, obviously, she's been in the music industry for a while at this point, but this is her debut solo situation. So for the album to just be a very close up of her face, being like Natalie Merchant, I'm like, it's a here I am, and I think it kind of speaks to that.
Absolutely.
So let's dive into some just some information, a little bit of background about today's album. So like we said, title is Tigerlily by Natalie Merchant. Okay, so now I have to pause already. Is there any point where she says Tigerlily in this album?
I was getting ready to ask you. I was like, I wonder why it's called Tigerlily.
I cannot find it. I could not find it. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if she just likes tiger lilies. I don't know if that's just like it. It's her vibe. I have no idea. But yeah, just thought it was like couldn't find it anywhere. So I was like, okay, well, we just got a cool album title with a cool chick. So we'll take it. So yeah, Tigerlily by Natalie Merchant. So for those who don't know, Natalie Merchant was the lead singer of the band 10,000 Maniacs and began that career, her journey with that band starting in 1981. So she remained with the group for their first 7 albums before leaving to begin her solo career in 1993. And this being her first published album since leaving the band. So she has since released 9 studio albums as a solo artist. So that's quite a few. That's quite a lot, especially, you know, and this one was the most commercially successful, I guess. So to be able to kind of keep releasing afterwards, pretty good on her. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it looks like she re-recorded this, and like again, I'll go ahead and bring her up early in this podcast. She did a Taylor Swift and re-recorded the album in 2015. So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't get a chance to listen to that though. I didn't know if that was in your notes or not.
No, I did not. And she added a couple songs to the re-record. I thought it was more. It's interesting because it's like it was for its 20th anniversary. It wasn't like, you know, like we said, Taylor Swift. It was not, you know, because of malicious intent or anything like that. It was. I was like, oh, it's the end. It was almost rather than remastering it. She said, we're gonna do the whole thing again, and I'm gonna give you some extra, which is pretty cool. I also didn't have a chance to give it a listen, but yes, she did re-record at least in 2015.
I'd like to. It came with like a DVD, like a documentary about the making of the album. So I'd be interested to check that out.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, definitely. Some more info about the album. So after her split with 10,000 Maniacs, Merchant was really eager to begin writing her own material. So she went home that very day that she quit the band and wrote the song "I May Know the World." Which is pretty badass in my opinion. And that song was supposed to kind of doing a throwback to one of our 52 movies that we've done. That "I May Know the World" was originally supposed to appear on the soundtrack of the movie Philadelphia with Tom Hanks. So it did get scrapped from the soundtrack, but it did make the album for Tigerlily. So I thought I was like, love little Venn diagram situation here of crossover of the 52 universe. I loved the movie Philadelphia, and I'm like, where would they have put that song in? Like I'm trying to like think. It's a great song. I just don't. I say the album. I guess the soundtrack didn't really stick out too much to me, other than the opening song was a Bruce Springsteen song.
Yeah, Streets of Philadelphia was the big song from that one, and then there's
Yeah.
obviously the big opera part of
Right.
the soundtrack. I don't know, maybe it would have come on, you know, later in that movie, because it's talking about like I'm on my knees, I'm begging,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be praying for deliverance, like maybe later.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
I don't know.
I was like, well, I wonder because I know that the Bruce Springsteen song was specifically commissioned for this uh movie. So I'm kind of like maybe they were originally going to have Natalie Merchant's song and then maybe it got switched. I don't know. I don't know what the lore is there, but just kind of a little fun fact situation there. The album is also 11 songs long, only 52 minutes. I do believe this is our shortest by a hair so far this year. So not too bad. Did this album chart? Well, Tigerlily did have, again, this was her most commercially successful album. It did give her her first top 10 hit with the single Carnival, and that got good top 40 success, as well as the songs Wonder and Jealousy. The album goes on to sell over 5 million copies, and again is her most successful album to date. She did quite a bit of extensive touring for this album, also had a couple appearances on Saturday Night Live and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So that's pretty interesting. I did, so overall, like a pretty decent, reception of this. I did get a negative review. I did specifically find a negative review because it stuck out to me so much. It was by Al Weisel from the Rolling Stone, and he said, with its suffrage of blindly self-obsessed lyrics and lulling light rock arrangements, the bulk of Tigerlily provides a perfect soundtrack for the Prozac Nation. And I was like, honestly, I'm sold. Like I was like, perfect soundtrack for the Prozac Nation. Let's go, baby. Which I did not know Prozac Nation was a book in 1994, specifically like a memoir about this one woman's struggle with depression. So it's very interesting. But I was like, yeah, I think that's kind of an accurate description, but for me, I'm like, that's a positive thing. I'm like, I kind of dig this.
Yeah, I think there's something about the Prozac Nation is specifically about like 30 something women in the 90s. Like that's really when it took hold. And they made a movie about it too, based on that book.
Oh, okay. When'd that come out?
2002, 3, somewhere in there. I think it has Christina Ricci in it.
So we've got a while before
yeah,
52 covers it.
a little bit. So
that's okay. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting, because a majority of the reviews of this album were very positive, but I did see that negative one, and I was like, I got to bring that to the conversation. We already talked about how for the 20th anniversary, Merchant re-recorded the songs. But in terms of, a legacy, or, there really wasn't a lot that I can find in terms of its lasting impact. Like, none of her songs reached number one or anything like that. I don't think she was nominated for anything. At least with this particular album, there was nothing I saw. But one kind of cool claim to fame, and I don't know how cool it is, Natalie Merchant seems pretty okay with it, is that Aileen Wuornos. Not sure how to say her.
Eileen Wuornos.
Eileen Wuornos, thank you. Serial killer. Requested that the song Carnival be played at her funeral. Apparently, she loved this album, listened to it on loop while she was in prison, and loved it. Had a huge impact on her life. Requested that Carnival be played at her funeral. They had to get Natalie Merchant's a blessing to do that, and she was like, I'm glad that I could provide her some comfort. And there was a documentary about Eileen a little while after her death where they did actually play that song during the documentary, so had to get her permission for that as well. So not really a big legacy, but I do think that's just kind of interesting. And I'm like, okay, we've got the serial killer, we've got Prozac Nation. I'm like, we've got a vibe, and I'm here for it.
One of our nation's few obviously convicted and sentenced women serial killers. So
yes, bananas.
Yeah.
And I thought it was fascinating. So I just threw a lot of facts at you, a lot of spitball. Anything that you want to add? Anything that kind of in your research or you're listening to the album that kind of stuck out to you?
No, the only thing that I found myself having any kind of like trouble with the album and listening is like sometimes it started. I was like, what song am I on? I don't know if you had that where you're like, it did feel at times like I was listening to the same song. Like there are only a couple in there that are completely different vibes,
Yeah.
But everything else, I was like, oh yeah, this could be Wonder, and then I'll be like, nope, this is Carnival,
Yeah.
or this is Jealousy, or whatever it is. They did all kind of feel like they were the similar.
Hmm. I get that. I agree. I think I had that more so with our Jewel album last week, where I was like, another one. Like it to me, it was that was a lot harder to kind of keep my attention. This one had a similar, I would say issue where, a lot of the songs do sound similar. However, for me, I kind of liked it in the way that I'm like, I feel like this album is great background music.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that as
Yeah.
a compliment. I mean that in like as a high compliment. I am someone who I cannot focus, read, work, do anything if there's like music or the TV on in the background, because I find it too distracting. I can't focus. And I am like with this album, it just kind of lulls in a way that is like calming and quiet and has that little bit of melancholy to it, that it does all kind of run together. And there's no like one distinct song that just like jumps out at you that you're like, bam, this is a new song. But I like it is, I think, perfect background music if that's something that you're looking for.
Yeah, I think I agree. I didn't want mine to seem like it was like anything negative, but because I agree with you about the Jewel album, except that Jewel is just another one. I'm going into another 10-minute song where she says the she says a slur for in like 5 minutes straight, just over and over.
Yeah.
Um,
So there was
yeah, you're
lack of
right.
slurs on this album.
It's poppy in a way to where, but not poppy enough to where I don't know where like I said, I kind of got lost in the album to the points where I was like, oh shoot, I listened to 11 songs already. And
Yes.
I didn't really think about each one as I was listening to them,
Yes.
which I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be open. I'm trying to listen to each song individually.
Mhm.
And the first couple times I listened to this, I put it on in the car. I put it just while I was working. And yeah, it's good January vibes, I think. Yeah, I think that's
1000.
an absolute um
Perfect analysis of this
yeah.
album. I think it's a head, like there's like head, thrashing albums. This one's like a bob.
Yeah, I agree with that. It is a bob. This is a
It's
bob.
not a bop, it's a bob.
It's a bob.
It's a
Bob
bob.
and yeah.
Well, of the I have some other fun facts on here, but it's more so like specific to songs. So overall, inspiration for this album had a lot to do with um, like cultural icons, things that were of particular interest to Merchant. But I want to ask you, of the songs on the album, which one like kind of stood out to you? Which ones are the ones that you would like to discuss today?
So I always star the ones that I think have some kind of relevance
Mm-hmm.
behind them. I think the first 5 songs on this album are either some of my favorites on the album or need to be discussed, and then at least acknowledged.
Yeah.
And then Jealousy is the only other one. So the first 5, and then Jealousy.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to talk about the ones that stuck out to me were Carnival, Jealousy, River, Beloved Wife. I do have San Andreas Fault on here as well. Um, we talked about briefly about I May Know the World. I also liked 7 Years, which is the final song on the album. We don't have to talk about that one in too much detail, but let's kick things off with the first song, San Andreas Fault. What kind of stuck out to you about that?
So I'm not typically a person that likes songs that I, for lack of a better term, jerk off to an area. So like again, if I bring up Taylor Swift, I think about like Welcome to New York, and it's just like we've been waiting for you. In this, it's like okay, that she's talking about California, and it's got all its great things about it, but it's also got its like seedy underbelly
I
to it too,
glad you
and
said CD Underbelly. That's what I was. I was like on the tip of
and
my tongue.
it all comes a lot like you get that with like being on the San Andreas Fault, and like it hides things, and
Mhm.
like I don't know. So I liked that this song didn't just say, "Oh yeah, California, aren't we cool?"
Mhm.
And it also kind of stuck out to me as like um I feel like Jewel might have had a song similar where she's talking about going to these different cities and everything. I don't know. I don't think that she goes into too much like crazy detail
Right.
about San Andreas Fault in within San Andreas Fault. But I do like that I felt like it was a fun song,
Yeah.
a good song to start off your album with.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. What did you think?
Absolutely. I'm glad that you brought up Jewel because you're right. This is very like we're talking about a city, we're talking about a place and time in the same way that Carnival is, but this one is a lot more highbrow in terms of like we're not getting like really into the weeds of, and I kind of compare this song and Carnival to Who Will Save Your Soul
Hmm.
from Jewel. Jewel is like saying very outwardly, like, this is what I'm looking at, this is who I'm observing. Natalie Merchant is very high level. She's like, it's kind of alluding to a lot of stuff. I think that Natalie Merchant is what Jewel was trying to do. That Jewel thought, like, because we said last week, like, oh, she thought she was saying something and she's really not saying anything too particularly deep. Those things that you say when you're 16 and you think you know everything. Natalie Merchant is, I believe, in her at least late 20s, early 30s when this album comes out, right? Like, she actually has she has a little bit more life in her. So when she makes these observations about the world, they're a little bit more fleshed out. They're a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Nuanced in me.
Hmm.
You can still have commentary on the people you see, the places you go, but it's just not so obvious. And I really liked that.
Yeah, and it's the common tale. It's like, oh, go west, because leave your small town, go come out here and be the next big star. And that's kind of how the verses go too, where it's like, talking about milk and honey and all this stuff, and your future's bright and everything, and then um, you get your chorus where it talks about San Andreas Fault and tears everything and it brings everything down. And then like her last like thing is about like, oh, the wicked ground tears it down. Promised
Mm-hmm.
land, with a wicked ground.
Mm-hmm.
Build a dream and watch it all fall down. I don't know. I really liked it. I thought she did a lot with, not a ton, but no, I think
No,
she did a really
that's
good job.
something too in her songs, and this is not a negative thing, is that she doesn't have a lot of lyrics. There's a lot of repeats.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll just like sing the verse again or sing, just tweak the words slightly, but it's almost, she's saying a lot of the same stuff over and over, but it is impactful. It's not a lot of lyric changes. It's a lot of repeats, but not in a bad way.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how people write. And again, we've only done 3 of these so far, but we've had such different writing styles. We have the juxtaposition with Alanis, and then we have whatever the hell Jules doing with everything that Jules doing there.
Yes.
No, so yeah, it's interesting to see. And yeah, you're right. She does. She just repeats a lot. Um, it's very worship songy. Everything is a chorus. It's
Have
everybody.
I
Let's.
been blind? Da, da, da. That one's been stuck in my head for 3 days. We'll get
It
there.
does. It sounds like it might be a Christian song.
It does. That's a very good observation. I do love that.
She is. She was 30, 31 or 32. Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna
Just the
say because she was with the the previous band. She was with 10,000. What's their band called?
10,000 Maniacs.
10,000 Maniacs. They did not have a lot of hits. She has a great voice, but they didn't do too much. But she was with them for like 12 years
Hmm.
as their lead singer, and I'm like, so she's lived a life and she's been a musician for quite some time. To have such a successful solo career after being with a band for so long, that's really impressive.
Yeah, it's weird to think that she hadn't done any. I don't know. It's interesting. She is such a voice, and she is such a unique voice that they didn't have a little bit more success than what they did. I know they had a couple hits, and maybe they weren't like going for hits, and maybe they weren't trying to chart or do any of that stuff. But uh, I mean, they did get their own MTV Unplugged, which is pretty interesting. So I don't
Right.
know.
the most, when I look on Spotify, the most streamed song of theirs is from that MTV Unplugged performance, and it's
Hmm.
a cover of someone else. It's a Bruce Springsteen song, I think. Like it's not even their own song. That's the most streamed song of theirs, and I was like, okay,
But I know I've heard that song. I played one of their songs for you, and I was like, "Oh
yeah,
yeah, that song." I just thought that was
somebody.
some '90s person. I don't know. But yeah, somebody in chat said you could tell how much more mature and older she is than Alanis and Jewel.
Yes, absolutely. Like yeah, I see it a lot. We said San Andreas, Salt, and Carnival, and then I'll talk about Alanis when we get to Jealousy. Um, but the
Yeah.
next song that you brought up was Wonder. Now, what do you have to say about Wonder?
So I just one, it's one of the few songs that I knew ahead of time.
Okay,
I couldn't have told you the name of it. But I also thought it was unique in that what it was actually about. And then it has all this other like lore with this song where somebody writes a book based on this song, and then that book becomes a movie based on this song.
I didn't know that. I missed all.
Yeah. So
So
there was
if you
that.
haven't heard it, so Wonder is a song that was about, Merchant said that the song was about a child born with a congenial disease, specifically for twins that she personally knew. And it was later found out that the twins had epidermolysis bullosa, EB, which is a condition where it's a skin condition where there's like it looks like burns or welts along the skin. So, but as a true, as a very real disease, and it is something that, yes, she said twins that she knew personally who suffered from it. But I didn't know about the book and the movie.
Mhm. Yeah, so there was a book that was written, and it was about a child with Treacher Collins syndrome, um, which is deformities of like the face and the eyes and ears and stuff like that. But it's about this. It's about this child. Um, it stars Jacob Tremblay, who was in the movie Room. He's also a pretty outstanding child actor. If you haven't seen Room, and one, it's terrible material, but like he's very very good in it as a child. But he was in this, and I think this movie actually got pretty highly,
Is
it's
it
highly
called?
acclaimed. Wonder is what it's called. And
I can see
uh
I can see the book cover in my brain.
yeah, it's a blue book cover, I believe.
I know
um
I had no idea.
yeah, the movie has Julia Roberts in it, and Owen Wilson. Yeah, Wonder. It's got the one eyeball. It's the kid. I've seen it at every Barnes and Noble.
Yeah,
But yeah, it is essentially based off of Natalie Merchant's song, and Natalie Merchant's song plays in the soundtrack. So
that's pretty crazy because so it's interesting. I went into this album blind. Like I don't know what any of the songs are about. I like to kind of like interpret them on my own, and I am sitting there listening to Wonder, and I was like, is this about someone with a disease? Like, and that's, I mean, like, she nailed it. Like, that is exact. Because I was like, what is this song about? Is it like, it can't be about a person with a disease? That's the way I'm interpreting it. And then I look into it, and that's actually what it's about. I was like, oh, okay. So I get it. I didn't love this song. It didn't stick out to me as much as maybe it did for you or for others. Clearly, it was quite successful. But yeah, I was like, is this about a disease?
yeah, but the only reason I bring it up is one, I think it's obviously it's one of her hits. It's surprising to me that this one became a hit because
Yeah.
of the content of it. And it's it sounds good lyrically, vocally, musically. But it the actual content of the song is you're right. It's about somebody with a disease, and it's about children with a disease, and it's not like a downbeat song or anything like
No.
that. It's pretty upbeat. So it's just strange to me that this was so successful.
Yeah, yeah, I did. That is crazy. I was unaware about the legacy it had. But yeah, that's not. This isn't one that I'm like, can't wait to listen to Wonder again. Like, yeah, it's upbeat, but I'm like, that's the subject. I'm very much a lyrics person. I'm like the subject matter. I'm like, I'm not there. I don't want to do this.
But I do think it's a nice, like, positive song, positive anthem that,
Sure.
and yeah, no, I don't know. I see why it is liked and everything. I don't
Mhm.
know why it was liked as
Exactly.
pop yeah, as a pop song, but
Yeah. And there's
who
other
knows?
like songs out there that are about, disease or about, like I feel like there's a lot of songs about cancer. There's
Lot of cancer
a
songs.
lot of cancer songs, and they're not as subtle, or they're not like, I feel like this is more subtle.
Yeah, this is no Christmas shoes though.
No Christmas. I mean, what is? Yeah,
Nothing can beat the Christmas shoes.
God Lord. What about anything else on that one?
No, I think that's really what I wanted to bring up was just, what it was about and why it was so special at the time and, what it did inspire. So that was
Mhm.
the only reason I had it starred on my list. So,
Mhm. That's fair. What about the next one is Beloved Wife?
Beloved Wife, the reason I wrote this song, one, it's a personal song for Natalie Merchant because she wrote it after her grandmother died, and then she got to see her grandfather, and just you hear everything in the lyrics of this song are
Oof.
just devastating. I
Yeah.
mean, there are a couple times when what does he say? Basically, like, I don't even want to do this anymore if you're not here.
Yeah, he goes, "Should I go with her?" And like that's towards the end. Like again, the lyrics change. Like he's like, he's singing about his beloved wife and how much he loved her and how good their time was together, how much he misses her. And then get to the end of the song, he goes, "Should I go with her?" And I'm like,
Mhm.
"No, don't do it."
Well, and the chorus too is just like, "My love is gone. She suffered long in hours of pain." What a chorus! What
What?
a really happy, just
Oh, it's
punch you in the
so,
face chorus.
it's so good though. It was so good. I loved it. I'm like,
It's a
because
rough song though.
well, it is very rough. For a moment, I was like, again, going in fully blind. I was like, is Natalie Merchant gay? Like, is this about her hypothetical wife? And I was like, no, not a thing. Much different subject matter. But I love it. I feel like it can be so relatable to people. Like especially if you've lost a loved one. Like it was so honest. It was sad, but it was beautiful, and I'm like, I loved that song. Like, was I like in tears by the end of it? Yes. Am I getting worked up talking about it now? Yes. I'm a crier. It's fine. I loved it. It did stick out to me. I'm like, third song in, let's go.
It's yeah, third song in, let me punch you in the gut. It reminds me of Goodbye My Lover a little bit. Like
Mm,
just how that's such a and I know he's got a couple more songs like that. But yeah, that's where I at first I was like, "Oh, dang."
yeah, I liked that one because like, yeah, San Andreas Fault's good, Wonder's good. I've liked that we get a lot of different subject matter.
Mhm.
It really really changes up the subject matter a lot. We don't get a lot of. I don't think we don't really get any or many love songs on this album. Beloved Wife is kind of our love song in a way. Um, we get snippets of other ones, especially towards the end. But like right at the beginning, again, we have the California song. We get a song about the media. We get the song about New York City. We get, it's like there's so much that's not like the typical love storytelling, the box that women get put into very frequently
Mhm.
within the music industry.
So
So
yeah, that's really all I had to say about Beloved Wife. It's just a bummer of a song.
it's a bummer and we love it. Prozac Nation.
Yeah, rise up.
Raise
I took Prozac once.
I say I'm a
It did not do anything for me.
Wellbutrin babe. Wellbutrin babes will rise up.
I
Okay.
was a Zoloft kid. Zoloft Zaddy, baby.
Zoloft, Zaddy, Wellbutrin babe. Drop your prescriptions in the chat.
No, that's a HIPAA violation.
Don't do that. I'm not. I don't employ them.
That's true. That's true. Who
We're
cares?
fine. What about? I want to talk about River because again going in blind. I just wish I just could walk through my entire thought process with you as I listen to all these songs. I went, wasn't River Phoenix in Even Cowgirls Get the Blues? And again, and I was like, a 52 crossover, and I went, nope, that is Rain. Wrong Phoenix. There's a lot of R named Phoenix. I think it's just Rain and River.
Rakeen.
Rocking. But so not correct on my part. I did like this one. What did you think about it?
Okay, I like this song. I think it needs to be brought up. You know, talking about. I think there are good parts of the song, and this is obviously about the death of River Phoenix, who died because of a heroin overdose, I believe.
It was
Um,
Speedball, which is a cross between with it is a combination of heroin and cocaine.
okay, cool. Sounds awesome. Sounds like a good time.
Not great.
Not great. Um, and River Phoenix was obviously like a rising star. Essentially,
He was the guy.
he was the Leonardo DiCaprio before Leonardo DiCaprio was Leonardo DiCaprio. Like they
Mm-hmm.
were very similar paths. I think River Phoenix a little bit older than Leo was at this point, and dies, and it's tragic. You know, we see it all the time. Sadly, you know, these stars that pass away too soon. Um, what some of the things I did like about the song was like, hey, let's let him be. All these people that are just like talking about him and acting like they knew him, and then also this is more about like the telling the media too to shut up and
Yeah.
let his family grieve in peace, and you're murdering his memory.
Yeah.
And it's just a tragedy and everything. So I feel like you've heard this, you've seen this from other deaths that have happened in Hollywood and
Mm-hmm.
um, things. So I don't know. I
Yeah,
like it and I don't like it.
that's fair. Something I do like about this is that I like that it changed perspective and who she was speaking to. So it initially is talking to the media. And
Mm-hmm.
I have the lyric here. Why don't you let him be? He's gone. We know. Like we know. Get like give his mother and his father peace. Your vulture's candor, your casual slander, you murder his memory. And I liked that, your vulture's candor, your casual slander. Because I think like the media and like Hollywood, the media like can really fuck people up, like for lack of a better term, is even in death, right? They're just the anything for clicks, anything for views. We see that a lot in our current day media, and um, I liked that it was like she changed perspective mid song. Is that initially she's singing to the media, being like, "Lay off, you're being jerks. This is insane," and then her perspective turns to River. She is singing to him specifically and being like, "You were one of us. Like, we mourn you. We're sorry that this happened. Like, we see you, we hear you." And I just liked that. I thought it was different. Like, you're right. We have heard songs like this before. This isn't a new concept.
Mm-hmm.
But I just kind of like how she executed it. Was it my favorite song? No, but I do. I just thought it was interesting. Again, a very like real in time like event that is very prevalent, that hey, we're gonna a thing happens, we're writing a song about it. I love when stuff like that happens, when we can
Mm-hmm.
tie a song back to a specific person, time, thing.
Yeah, I think also it's someone that is 30 years old talking about someone who is young, and we already see like how her perspective of California, San Andreas, this is a world that'll kind of chew you up and spit you out.
Hmm.
um and maybe she's writing it from that person, because I don't think she knew him very well. From
No.
anything that I found, they had a little bit of a friendship. They talked on the phone a few times, and but it didn't come off as something like she knew him like super well. Oh, it's so sad for I lost a good friend or anything. It was mostly like we lost a good person on
Yeah.
this planet. I didn't lose a friend. We lost somebody that was really great and had potential to be really, really great. And just seeing the shame of that, and the how sad that's made a lot of people around him and how everyone's grieving. I don't know. That's an interesting twist there because you could be this person that's like, oh yeah, I knew River Phoenix. I was, we were really close, and I wrote this song about him. But it doesn't do that at the end. There, it is just, hey, we lost the good one.
Yeah.
And I could tell he was going to be kind of a good like a
Yeah.
good shining. She said, I had it. She respected him and she thought he was living fully. I saw that a couple times when I was doing some research. Like,
Hmm.
somebody that was living their life to the fullest, a little too full.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I think, and again, we see this today. We see stuff like this. I just think I kind of like that it's kind of in his defense. That like there's a modern example. This happened literally like 4 weeks ago. So we were just talking about Twitch yesterday. So Twitch, if you don't know, the So You Think You Can Dance winner, choreographer. He was the DJ on the Ellen DeGeneres show for a long time. Incredible dancer, so good, so talented. Unfortunately, took his own life several years ago because he was battling depression. A lot of people didn't know, but he left behind a wife and 3 children. And literally a month ago, his wife decides to like go to the media and shit talk him, and was like, yeah, like he was addicted to marijuana, he couldn't get his addictions under control, like just slandering him, his wife. And I'm like, was this for money? Was this for clicks? Was this to put your name back into the in the scene? Like, it felt so out of nowhere, it felt so strange. And I'm like, maybe that's why I kind of like resonated with this song a little bit, because I was furious when I saw that article come out about what she had to say about her dead husband. And I'm like, again, he can't defend himself, he's not here. He's like a man who was sick, who had issues with his mental health, and here we are talking shit about him and his drug, if he had a drug issue, or if he was just a user, like so many people are. It's like shit happens. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent at this point. I think that's why it kind of stuck out. Again, the dead don't get to defend themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like that she was like, hey, media, fuck off. So there's that. What about, let's talk about Carnival. I think Carnival's probably her most again, commercially successful song off this album.
Do you think that's weird? Like this song is her most, I mean, out of the 3 big ones, this always strikes like her hit songs are very strange to me.
Yeah, I mean, Jealousy, yeah, it would maybe be one that but it's like not like, Jealousy would maybe be the one that I would be like, yeah, that one makes sense as a hit. Wonder is probably the strangest. I don't think Carnival's too strange because it is very catchy. Even if we're not really paying attention to lyrics, like dun 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 dun, like I like it.
You're doing great. Da, da, da.
Just let me live.
I'm letting you live. This is truly her welcome to New York, right?
This one is about going to New York City for the first time, and like I was like, this poor woman, like she grew up, it sounds like similar kind of upbringing to Alanis Morissette, where she was pretty sheltered, she grew up Catholic, and all of a sudden goes to New York City and sees the insanity that is New York City, and is just like comparing the city to a carnival, like seeing all the people and the vendors and the rides and the colors, and it's crazy, and like, have I been blind to all of this? And like, am I going to be impacted by what I've seen here? How can I go back? And again, it's very similar to Jules' Who Will Save Your Soul, but it's not as like in your face about it. It's very subdued.
No, I think that's a great comparison of songs. Yeah, this one more so than than San Andreas Fault.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also so upbeat.
Yeah, but it's not like high energy. None of her upbeat songs are high energy, and I don't want to confound those two. Because just because it's got a good beat, but it's not sad sounding, but it's also not like the happiest thing we've ever heard. It's just very interesting.
It is, and I mean, it does capture like Truly, if I were a 16-year-old girl and the first thing, like, I went to New York City for the first time after living, in Podunk, wherever,
Mhm.
and she's from New York, but obviously not the city. Just going to the city for the first time and just being like, "What the heck is all this stuff?" And, like, you've got these guys coming up to me and talking about how they're gonna save my soul, and, you see all these people painted up, you see all the poverty, you see all this stuff,
Everything.
um, and it's just a lot to take in. And
Yeah.
she's just like, "Have I been blind? Have I been lost
Yeah.
this whole time?"
Or it's like being met with reality for the first.
Hmm.
You said, I've left my bubble and the world is here.
A lot of repetition, though. This is probably the song that she repeats the most in,
I
I
agree.
think.
I
I
don't have
mean,
a lot to say about the song other than that. Like, I liked it. It is her hit. But there's, yeah, you said a lot of repetition. Nothing like super sticks out.
yeah. So that's pretty much all I have too.
All right. So this is our last one. Let's talk about Jealousy. Get another one of her hits. What do you got to say about that?
Uh, I love this song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this song a lot. I think it is her "You Oughta Know," but it's also like so very toned down.
I said,
Um,
this is the kinder version of You Ought to Know. This is the 30-year-old version.
yes, that's a great way to put it. Um, it's she's not like lashing out, and the things that she says is she does she do these things? It's like
Mhm.
when Alanis is saying it, like, is she perverted like me? Will she go down on you in a theater? She's just like, hey, does she read a lot of books at night?
You read a lot of books like me?
Yeah.
This is a dumb question for you, but I was thinking about this. In thinking about like exes, people that you've dated, whether it's high school, college, whatever. If you ever got jealous, like that an ex has moved on with somebody else, did you ever compare yourself to that person? Because now we've
Mm.
got two songs. We got Jealousy and You Ought to Know. Where is she like me? Does she do this like me? Does she do that like me? That is and I'm asking because this has never been a thought that's crossed my mind. That I'm like, it's more so like, what's wrong with me? Or maybe I turn more inward, maybe that's the depression. But like, I don't necessarily think of like, did you pick somebody who does things that I do? I'm assuming you pick someone different.
I think reaction is first and foremost kind of like what you said. What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Why was I the problem? And then when you can't just like do that anymore, I think you move to the new person or whatever, and you're like, well, here's what they're doing. Why was what I'm doing different than that?
Yeah,
Or
we focus on the differences, not the similarities. And
yeah.
it's interesting that I feel like, does she do what I do in two different songs within
Hmm.
that we've started? It's like, yeah, does she read a lot of books like I do? Does she say similar things to me? And I've heard other songs where they have that too, not just Alanis and Natalie, but I just thought it was just an interesting thought. I'm like, am I like, do I just do this wrong? Have I not been doing Jealousy correctly? Like,
Hmm. No, I think I get it though. I think you want and I think you get to the point at the end of her album or at the end of this song when she's like, do you accidentally say my name? Because they're doing all the same things that I did. Do you accidentally say my name instead?
great ending to a song.
Yeah.
Just kind of on that cliffhanger.
And I think, yeah, I think so. I think that's part of jealousy. I think that's part of, and it's also like yeah, they're doing the same thing I'm doing. What was wrong with me? If I was doing the exact same thing, it just goes back to like, what am I doing wrong then? What,
Hmm.
so it's all, I don't know. I feel like it's all cyclical in the same sense.
Another question. This is for funsies. I'm going off topic. Would you rather your ex be with someone better looking than you or worse looking than you?
Um, hmm.
There's no wrong answer. It's just
No, I know, but I think that there are things that like I don't know.
I'm vain, so I want I
You want
want
them to be ugly.
I want them to be worse looking. I'll be like, but when for the people who usually say I want them to be better, The chat
That's what I'm thinking. Look, I'd rather them just die alone
or the people
um
who say, "Oh, I want them to be with someone better looking or of equal looks." It's like because my exes say something about me, and I'm like, I don't give a shit what they say about me. I want them to be with an ugly bitch.
no, I a little bit of me is just like I want them to be with somebody of equal or lesser value.
Yeah,
That way it makes me feel like, well, I don't know, that there is something else. There was some other reason why
yeah,
it didn't work out. Or
right. Because if it's like, oh, it's like this like Alana says the older version of me, and I'm like, I was like, well, there's the reason, or it's like maybe, or she's prettier than me, or she's better than me, smarter than me, whatever. Like in Natalie's song, she's like, she's talking about how smart is she smart? What does she talk about? What does she read? I'm like, no, I want them to be worse.
I just want them to have thinner hair than I do. That's all I care about. I think that's the only thing that I would hold on to is like, hey, I hope I hope they're bald by their 40, you know? That's what I'm hoping. That's the secret thing that I wish on them.
That's the secret sauce. I that's sorry, just fun questions to go because I was listening to the song. I'm like, I love the song. It's really fun.
Fun.
But I had a lot of questions for myself.
Okay. Okay. I got you.
Any anything else to add? Any
No, I don't think so.
okay. Well, thank you for indulging me on that.
You're welcome.
So let's get into a little bit of like our favorite, least favorite, our highs and lows. What is your favorite song on this album?
Jealousy is my favorite song on this album.
Jealousy. Yeah, it's a good song. It's simple. It's well done.
I think it's so weird that it's so late in the album.
Yeah. Again, we don't get a lot of love songs or heartbreak songs. This is one of them, and this is a good one. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of surprise. Again, there. I always say this that there's a reason that in the which the order is in an album. Some of them aren't. Some of them they just throw shit to the wall and see what sticks. Others are very intentional. You want your hits to be on the front of the album because they're more likely to be listened to. But this one being later in the discography is kind of surprising.
Hmm. Yeah. So I don't know. You don't often go to number 9 for your favorite song, but no,
Right.
this one is hands down my favorite song.
I my favorite is I did Carnival. It's not my favorite, but I like because again it's been in my head for a couple days. I liked 7 Years. We didn't talk about
We haven't talked about it. Talk about it.
um. It's it's the final song on the album. It's a little there's a couple songs that are like a little longer than others. This is one of those a little bit longer songs, and it's kind of a lament looking on a relationship that has ended. Hey, so it's in the chat, 7 years in Carnival, same. But this you're looking back on a love that ended, that they actually oh well, we got the 7 years love. I love this.
I guess I'm just a poppy bitch, okay?
Poppy. It's a little more. It's like kind of somber. Say looking back and being like, I loved you for 7 years, and it didn't go well. Right? I mean, now I'm left here, and we'll get into this too. I have my favorite lyric. You were all that I could see. I've got my sight now. I see everything you hid. So don't try to right now all the wrong you did. I might forget you, but never forgive. I like that because usually it's the flipped. I might forget you, but never forgive. So I gave you 7 years of my life. I gave you so much, and this is how you break up with me. This is how you repay me. But it's the I think the most emotion that she
Mhm.
put into any of the songs is I'm like, oh, somebody hurt her. Like a lot again, most of these songs I feel like you're got a 1,000 foot view of them. She's kind of singing about something very high level, not getting too into the weeds of stuff. 7 years, I'm like, oh, something happened. Like, and maybe may or may not have been true. But I did dig it. I really like that one.
I think I was just so late in the album that I was just like, I'm done with you. I'm done with you, Natalie Merchant.
That's fair. That's
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear this.
okay.
Um,
What
sad song.
It is sad. What about your least favorite?
Cowboy Romance.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't super like gripping, I'll say.
I don't think any of the songs were bad by it. Like,
Yeah.
there's no pieces of you where I'm just like, Jesus Christ, what did we just do here? It was more of just like, it was a little bit of a tone shift. It's definitely on the more country side of it, purposefully with the cowboy romance thing. It just didn't grab me. I was kind of just bored with it.
Mhm.
So yeah, nothing like disastrous on this album by
Oh,
any means. It's very even the whole time.
100% agree. I did like Cowboy Romance mostly because it reminds me of a Taylor Swift song called Cowboy Like Me. So if anyone, and we'll get to that later. But yeah, kind of there's that. My least favorite was Wonder. I did not care for Wonder. I'm like, how was this a hit? Uh,
Nice.
again, the strange subject matter. Like, I
She
mean,
she hates children with diseases, folks.
I knew it. I knew. I did. That's never. It's one that I'm not going to go back to. I have
I get
zero
it.
reason to listen to Wonder ever again. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Again, like I want to echo what you said. None of these songs are disastrous. None of these are bad. It's just my personal least favorite.
That's okay.
Well, I already gave my favorite lyric. The I might forget you, but never forgive. What is your favorite lyric? What songs it come from?
Comes from Jealousy.
Mhm.
It's the end of Jealousy, and we kind of already touched on it. Taylor Swift could never write a song about a sick
It's
child.
called Rowan. Look it up.
Oh wow, get served. You're dealing with a Swiftie here, so watch
Unfortunately, she did
yourself.
write about a sick child.
It's the one where does she talk the way I do? Is her voice reminding you of the promises, the little white lies too? Sometimes tell me while she's touching you just by mistake, accidentally, do you say my name? It's mostly that end part there
Yeah,
that I really liked because
love
it's
it.
just like.
I love it. I Tell me to yell at the chat. Chat, I love y'all. Thank you for being here. I say no. I love it. It's kind of like a cliffhanger. Like she's asking, like, "Do you ever accidentally say my name?" And then it fades to black, and you're just like, "Tell
Mhm.
me." So no, it's very very good. So what are you told me you had some music pairings? So what are your music pairings for today?
Yeah, now I kind of get why people on the movie podcast are always like, I don't know what to do for pairings. This is always like my hardest part, and I have so much fun with it. This is very hard, and it's a hard question to think about, but it came to me. I was just like, uh, one, it's kind of a combination of these two artists,
Mm-hmm.
but James Blunt, who I already mentioned earlier, is. Gives me Natalie Merchant vibes with his songs. I already mentioned Goodbye My Lover. There's that other song where he's talking about his father that is just like uh he also has a song about pets that I'm like dying pets and I'm just like
I don't
um
know that one.
yeah, well, I don't want to show you either because you'll cry
That's
and
fair.
you'll cry so much. You're beautiful. Other
Mm-hmm.
songs like that. Uh, no, she reminds me of him so much.
I
And
love.
then the mixture in here is a Sarah Bareilles too.
Mm,
They're both James Blunt, Sarah Bareilles, and Natalie Merchant are very piano heavy. I think if you were in the '90s, you might want to pair this with Ben Folds or Ben Folds Five, maybe some of his like more in the brick, like She's a
mhm,
Brick song that would compare a little bit more with Natalie Merchant. Again, her songs are so piano heavy. I
mhm,
think of those James Blunt and Sarah Bareilles mostly because um, similar vibes. Um,
mhm.
Sarah Bareilles in particular can, write a poppy hit, or she can write you a love song, or not. She doesn't want to, or she can write you a whole musical if you want. I think they're a good mixture. Like they got Natalie Merchant gave birth to James Blunt and Sarah Bareilles.
Those are her children.
Yeah.
I love that. Those are excellent pairings. I see in the chat too, Joni Mitchell and some Fiona Apple. Also, Joni Mitchell especially. We talked about her last week because they both. Again, I do feel like, and it's we're going to be comparing. This whole podcast is going to be comparisons. When we talk about Jewel and Natalie Merchant, they have similar vibes in that folk pop genre. A little Natalie being a little more angsty. But we can
And lived. She's lived a little bit longer than
exactly
Jewel, like
brought up
wiser.
last week. So I think Joni Mitchell's another great one for this week as well. I only had Carole King. And that is solely based on vibes. There's no one particular song. I do think Natalie Merchant's a more subdued version of Carole King. I feel Carole King's a little more poppy, but just like the sound itself just gave me Carole King vibes. If Carole King is October, Natalie Merchant is January. Like both cold, both like, and but still like with like a blanket. You know,
Hmm.
they're different types of depression in the winter. But that's my comparison. I also kind of I mentioned Cowboy Like Me is from Taylor Swift's Evermore album. I do think that this wouldn't be too bad of a pairing with this album as well. But again, I need to shut up about Taylor Swift.
No, I think Carole King is such a good one too. Again, another piano forward artist.
Mm-hmm.
And even James Taylor a little bit. I'm thinking of You've Got a Friend in particular, but comparing them, that's I think that's good. I think Carole King is really good. That's a
Mm-hmm.
good comparison. You went older. I went newer.
Hey, that's
That's
how.
good.
And again, that's the fun of the pairing is that, and like when we do it with movies, when we do it with music, you hear something, you listen to something, and you make that like mental connection, and you go, "Oh, this reminds me of this thing."
Hmm.
And like, would you put Carole King, Joni Mitchell, Fiona Apple, and James Blunt all on a playlist together? You can craft a vibe on that playlist.
I'd like to listen. I wonder what Natalie Merchant's the rest of her discography is like. I didn't get a chance to listen to.
Mhm.
I'm trying to salvage my Spotify Wrapped for the end of the year
Yeah,
a little bit, and they're
I,
like, "Your
I
number
was,
one artist is Natalie Merchant." I'm like, "Oh, that's a weird year."
that's what's gonna end up happening, but that's
Yeah,
okay. Um, so would you recommend this to a friend?
I think I yes and no.
Mhm,
I think Natalie Merchant has such is like a quintessential voice of the 90s.
mhm,
So like if I were making a playlist of like the 90s, I obviously have to put Natalie Merchant on there. And when I listen to playlists from the 90s, she pops up all the time and I'm
mhm,
always like, "Oh yeah, that's her. That's a voice that I know that is very 90s."
mhm,
But so if I was making or creating a list that was 90s women, Lilith Fair people, Natalie Merchant's got to go on there. I think she's uh, overlooked
mhm.
even.
Yeah.
You think about 90s artists, you would think about Alanis Jewel. Some of the others that we'll cover later. As we go through this, some of the debuts and some of the
Mhm.
different genres that we hit on, I think she would often get overlooked. So I'm not like going to go out of my way and be like, "Hey, have you checked out Natalie Merchant?" But if somebody was like, "Oh, I need a playlist, like what are some good 90s women?" I'll be like, "Natalie Merchant's great, you should
Yeah.
listen to her."
I totally agree. I would recommend this if someone was like, I need something to go on a coffee shop playlist. I need some background working music. I want to learn more about the ladies of the 90s. I'm like, I got you, girl. So those are these situations, because again, music can be situational. Like, would you, some albums, when you're like Alanis Morissette, recommend that for anybody, anywhere, anytime. This album, there's a situation where I absolutely would say, you know what, you should probably check this out, and I fully agree with you.
I think I could see Natalie Merchant albums just being sold at Starbucks as their those
Yes.
CDs that used to be up front, or even Whole Foods. They do that stuff too. It's very Whole Foodsy.
Yeah.
Uh, this is Whole Foods genre.
The person is wearing a floral print ankle length skirt with a sweater over top, and some clogs, some Birkenstock clogs.
You
That and
had me. I was like, oh, okay, I'm into this, and then you lost me at the clogs. That was the album.
well, that's Natalie Merchant also had, that was her look, was like a long skirt that she would just kind of like stand and twirl with, like that was like her
Hmm.
vibe. This is how she sang, and I'm like, that girl is at Whole Foods right now.
I
So give me your 5-star rating.
give it a 3.
Same.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
it's again like one of the most even records I've ever heard. There
yeah.
wasn't like a super high high, no super low lows. Yeah, just kind of middle of the road.
Yes, exactly. We are here. This is a 3-star album, 1000%.
I'm for it.
Okay. Well, anything to add? Anything else that we left unsaid?
I don't think so, unless other people have suggestions around this. But no, I don't have anything else to add.
Yeah, I love hearing other people's pairings. I love hearing y'all's, if you gave it a star review, drop it in the chat. We love to see it. I love other people's perspective. Maybe someone's listening to this and going 3-star, you idiot. It should be 5, or I want to hear it. Let's go. But if not, again, thank you. Best of 95 so far. That is a strong statement because we did listen to album of the year already. But I like it. Again, this is good. They love these perspectives. I want to thank you, Cody, again for hanging out here, for being with us, for doing this conversation. Before I let you go, do you have any, I know I've been asking you every week, and you've been really like making it a homework assignment to listen to something new every week. So do you have a new, if you don't, it's okay, but do you have a new recommendation for music?
Hell yeah, I got new recommendations. I got a couple recommendations. So I fell asleep watching Twitch the other day, and then I woke to hear an amazing song that I had never heard before. But I do think this song is like at least like 6 years old at probably. But it's called "Purple Hat" by Sophie Tucker. Please look that up, and if you don't dance to it or move your ass or do something to it, you're dead inside. Love that song.
It's an ass shaking song.
It is an ass shaking song, definitely. I'll go with SZA. Mostly the song BMF. I'm really obsessed with that song right now. And let's see, what else do I have on here? I have a song called "Call Me Up" by the Daydreamers. Check that out. And then a song called "Between the Lines" by Kids Table. Just
I don't
I've
know
been
that.
going I've been going hard on my Discover Weeklies,
Uh,
and I've been discovering weekly. How about
that's,
you? Anything you've heard lately?
you know what? I have been obsessed, and this, but with, I said I love Spotify, and I've been obsessed with digging into my the year of playlists from like several years ago. So I was listening to your year 2017 last week. Today,
Mine?
no, mine.
Oh, I was like,
Well, the
how'd you
point.
get
No, I can't
that?
find. I don't think I can. No, the one I was listening to today was like my top songs from 2021, which was a very interesting year. But I had great taste in music that year, and I had been listening to a lot of Megan the Stallion. A lot, there's a lot of Megan the Stallion on that playlist. So that is who I specifically thought shit. The great song. "Ain't Nobody Come to See You, Otis" is one of the best lines in a rap that I've ever heard. Again, movie reference, but that's the song. That's really the only recommendation I have, is listen to Megan the Stallion for a good, another ass shaking time.
I love an ass shaker.
Well, if y'all are interested, you can get any and all information about this podcast or any other podcast within the 52 universe by joining our Discord server. That is open to anyone and everyone. Just drop in, sign up, say hi. We'll give you a little emoji wave when you get there. And you're always welcome to follow us on Instagram as well under 52 slash. Next week is the final week of Ladies Week. It's also the last January episode that we're going to do. So it's the last week of Ladies Month. We'll be covering "Relish" by Joan Osborne. So that is next week's album, is "Relish" by, not mustard, not ketchup, "Relish" by Joan Osborne. With that being said, I think we're good to go. Thank you for tuning in to 52/1990.